the AI6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
You're very welcome to the AI6 podcast. Introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do at work.
Thank you, Joanne. It's lovely to be here. I'm a communications manager at Kent County Council. I work in the Innovation and Business Intelligence Group. We're a dynamic group responsible for service development, improvement, innovation, and support across the Growth and Communities division. Our core functions include data intelligence management, systems oversight, digital innovation, and of course, communications innovation. And I'm responsible for the communications part.
We know each other a good few years. You like to be ahead of the curve. And even the fact that Kent County Council has this innovation and intelligence units speaks to that. But we're here to talk about AI, and government agencies are at the very early stages of adapting, I would say. What's your own experience about how political leaders and government officials are to AI in comms?
We've tried to keep it quite simple, basically using AI for content creation, so we can right away reassure them that this is not going to be any way interacting with anyone's data. I think once it's explained to people what we're using it for, why we're using it, then they're very likely to embrace it, especially when we give them some examples and demonstrations of the type of work we do and the amount of money we can help save, because budgets are incredibly tight. I've had a very positive response.
And you've taken that a step further, not just in practice, but you've been presenting to internal audiences about how you're using it. Are they going to be using it, or is it staying within the comms teams initially?
At the moment, it's staying within the comms team, but we have been looking at using it for internal comms. I've been showing them quite a bit on using text to voice. Again, if we're going to get to the point where we are cloning voices, it becomes an issue because you don't want anybody else to get hold of your voice. Using text to voice to get messages out there, and it doesn't have to be in the voice of the person. It might just, we choose a kind of avatar voice.
From text to voice to text to video, you've been experimenting with Pixar-style videos. Tell us about that.
I was looking at what the cost of a 2-minute Pixar-style video costs to produce, and it's about $250,000, round about that, where we've got the technology now that we can produce in-house for the price of about £200 a month. So it's not Pixar style. You're not going to stick it on the movies. The quality is good enough for using it for what we want to, and to get the messages across that we want to. That was a reason for Pixar. In fact, I've used Pixar in a couple of actual campaigns as well, because the audience that we're looking to reach, we're doing quite a bit with youth agencies at the moment, so we're experimenting with different styles there.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about AI. We've got to test and learn and experiment. You're taking a very considered approach, going in gently and slowly, which is good. What are the AI tools that you're experimenting with now?
We use Canva an awful lot to pull everything together, or we use Premiere Pro if it's a higher level video. The tools we're using for text to voice is 11 Labs. The voices are fantastic, and also for voice cloning, I've cloned my own voice on there. It's brilliant. The voices are excellent, and they're really good for using for narration. So we've got a lot of very specialist people we work with, but they're not good in front of the camera. I don't want to speak. And they're very happy to approve the script and let us just approve the voice. Saves so much heartache and time in production. And you'll find 11 Labs behind a lot of AI, text to video, and various other things they use for the voice. For text to animation, we're using Beyond. We've lost, due to budget cuts again, in some of our services, we've actually lost quite a few members of staff. For instance, our community wardens who are out there face-to-face and a phenomenal service, but we don't have as many anymore. So to bridge that gap, we're developing avatars that can do a lot of their presentations and also answer questions on the website. That one we're not quite at yet. I still have to get approval for that one. But the intention is that the avatar, quite obviously AI, will assist the wardens that are out there. We also use, for text to video, we use InVideo AI, which has recently gone generative. So it's brilliant. That's where Pixar comes in, and we can do all sorts of styles. So InVideo is a bit clunky. They've come up with something else. They're just a little bit ahead of the curve. And because of that, you can't have the same character appear in many movies. That's just too difficult. But for doing one-offs, InVideo is fantastic. We're a Microsoft organization. Copilot's the backbone to everything. So it's the chat GTP of Microsoft. And I probably have Copilot open all day, from writing copy to script writing to just generating ideas along with my assistant. It is the backbone of everything. Within a short time, once I've developed the idea, I can get some copy together for social media posts, a script for a video, and an audio script together, and whatever else. And again, it's not to do with Copilot doing it for me. Copilot's doing it with me. And they only work under your instruction, and they're only as good as you are. I think what Mark Schaefer said in his book is AI makes you better than your best. I love that quote. And that's what it does from a comms point of view. You can't become a copywriter just because you've got ChatGTP. You need to understand copy, and you need to understand what the messages are about. So Copilot Beyond, InVideo, 11 Labs, Canva, as I say, Premiere Pro. We use a little bit of captioning and things from an AI perspective, but it's just about bringing it together. I think that's about the suite we're using at the moment. We're looking into we've looked at other tools where it needs to be installed on your laptop, which will not happen from within KCC at the moment. Everything we are using has been approved by our risk team, but it's all web-based content apart from Premiere Pro.
And you sent me some great examples of how you've integrated that AI-generated / supported content into real-life campaigns. So do you want to talk about some of those?
The team came up with an idea for our library service. And then library services have some amazing services they offer to inmates in prisons. We wanted to produce something to go on the internet because, again, the inmates don't have an awful lot of time, and not very many of them would actually go into the library. So we wanted to produce something for the internet to introduce the services and let them know it's more than just a library. To be honest with you, we did rip off the M&S ad. So it's not just a library, it became the theme. When we presented the film to our internal client, she cried. That was using AI to help us tell a story in a way we just couldn't afford to do if we had gone out to the market a few years ago. I do have an internal videographer. He did go and shoot some video. So we had some live video. We had some generated video. We had some stock video. And we used AI to create the narration. Altogether, it really cost very little. And it had a really big impact. We also do quite a lot with training standards. It's quite amazing. We've been working closely with training standards over the last few years. And they've gone from, we don't want anything to do with communications, and to being their biggest advocates. They just can't say enough good things about my team and what it's done. It's actually helped to change the service in so many ways. So the communications actually become part of the solutions. And we use, and again, they love the fact they don't need to talk in the camera anymore. They don't have to do any of that, but they get to approve all these really great things. So introducing, so I think we sent you the Botox video. That was a piece of legislation that was, people weren't understanding the law clearly. Again, was just using a bit of AI to create a video. We created one for business, one for aimed at parents, and one's aimed at younger people to understand what the new law was. We get an annual reach on our training standards calls about 15, 16 million. And what's happened is that the reputation of training standards in Kent has expanded into other areas. And I think we sent you one that we've produced for, I think, Milton Keynes training standards. That was purely AI creative video. And then we're helping them understand how they can start to do things for themselves. From that as well, we've also working with a lot more of the training standards in the Southeast to develop content for a really difficult topic. The one that we're going to be working on from January is for offensive weapons and training for corrosive substances and acid attacks. Hard content, but because we've got these tools now where we can actually tell the story and do the training in a way that's really engaging and simple, it works so much better. And then we've got testing software. We're using things like Kahoot. We're using for testing, for doing the quiz at the end of it. Did you understand it? And to get the certificates. So it's just a really exciting time to be working in content creation. I love it.
And what I love is that you've been able to convince those reluctant colleagues who fear that, number one, it might not be authentic if it's AI generated, and number two, it might negatively affect citizen engagement and reach.
We did a very recent survey on Nextdoor. We use Nextdoor a lot in Kent. It's a really great way to talk to residents. And we did a recent survey just asking them, because sometimes we think we're just throwing so much stuff at them that they're tired of it. And again, for training standards, we do a lot on scam prevention. 75% of them said that our content is helping prevent them from falling from a scam. So that's the answer for me. It's not what somebody else says. It's the audience, the residents we try to protect. If they're saying, yes, you're helping me, then that's the answer. The only thing with the AI content that I would be worried about is if you were trying to pretend it was real. If you were trying to pretend it was a real person. And we would never do that. I'd rather make them blue. It's not a real person. And from protecting residents' perspective, we can get the message out as quickly as possible. And we're alerting them to something that's happening right now. We have intel from the police and from our community wardens that there's doorstep criminals around in an area. If we can say to those people in that area, right now, doorstep criminals in this area, don't answer the door to them, don't fall for what they've got to tell you.
Those real life examples are wonderful. And what I'm going to do with your permission is to share them in the blog post associated with this podcast at publicsectormarketingpros.com so people can go and watch that content that you have. Let's fast forward. You are more than experimenting. You are actually implementing AI into your daily work life, getting great results. Where do you want to go with it over the next 12 months?
And it really depends on which part of it. Being part of IBI, we look at AI in various different parts, not just in comms, but our systems team. As soon as I asked that question, they all came up with a different answer. From a comms point of view, I just want it to continue to develop. People should not be scared. It's really exciting times. There's so much positive that can come out of AI. There are negatives, but we're not going to talk about those. But there's so many positive things. And I think people shouldn't fear for their jobs in the creative industries. AI is only as creative as you are. It's only going to be, as Mark says, going to make you better than your best. What I'd like to see in the next 12 months is continued exciting developments from across the board. And it's accelerating so fast, there will be. And seeing more people embracing it in an intelligent way and seeing the benefits from a local government point of view of how it can actually help our residents and keep them safe.
You started this interview by saying that AI is helping you save money and create high quality, engaging content within a small team for budgets that were slashed. That in itself is a really good argument. I know I have lots of public sector marketing pros, many of whom you know who are going to be watching and listening to this. What do you say to them if they want to get to where you are, where they can convince their managers, learn the tools, and then have use cases that show success? What's your advice to them?
I think, yes, definitely data. Everything needs to be backed up with data. So whatever you're doing, record it. Find someone in a senior position to be an advocate for you. Speak to them, do presentations, show the positives. As soon as you get that content out there, then you're looking at the stats, the reach, how people are engaging with it so you can continue to report back. Nobody's going to support you all the way unless you can prove it actually does something better than what you were doing before. Try to put people's minds at ease. Give me a call. I'll show you how to make a video for them that you can just show them the whole thing on video and of how it could actually be helping them.
I always say in order for AI to get traction within comms and marketing in government and public sector, we need early adopters. And you are the early adopter, but you're also the influencer, Kae. You are that person that's going to demonstrate and illustrate to senior leadership what can be done. So you're leading the way. I think marketing and comms people are perfectly placed to do this. And you're the example of what can happen, for sure.
Thank you. We just think we're doing a job.
Well, you are, but you're innovating.
We are. We love innovating. That is what is exciting. But I've worked in a lot of times of tight budgets, and I've always found that's when it's where people are most innovative. When you're facing an issue, you haven't got very much money, you're thinking differently. So we're in a time of thinking differently, and it's a time to start embracing everything that's out there.
It's a time to embrace all that AI has to offer. Kae Skinner, Communications Manager at Kent County Council. Always a pleasure to speak to you. And thank you so much for joining me on the AI6 podcast.
Thanks, Joanne. You take care.
The AI6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.